Welcome to our Trapped project. Here are some artists that inspire this assignment. Dan Witz. Dan Witz created a series of cell phone paintings. He is a Brooklyn-based street artist who works as a realist painter. He uses technology as the light source, evoking old master style of lighting called chiaroscuro. Alex Gross uses satirical and symbolism in the paintings that incorporate figures in these surreal situations evolving technology and how people are avoiding social interaction and are maybe obsessed with their own self through their devices. In this project, I want you to think about how does light source play a role in your artwork. The film Buried with Ryan Reynolds, you can see in this scene, he's buried alive and using the cell phone as the light source in the majority of the scenes. In this project, Tenebrism, the dramatic and selective illumination of forms coming out of a deep shadow, is crucial. This particular Renaissance painting technique is seen often in the work of Artemisia Gentileschi, one of the first female artists to pursue a career on the same terms as men during the Renaissance. Her paintings mostly depict heroic women from history, mythology, and religious subjects. Let's go over some of the guidelines of this project. You want to convey the idea that technology is trapping us. You're going to create a reference photo that uses technology as your light source. So you can choose to use a TV or computer glow or cell phone light as your light source. It is recommended to use a self-portrait as your main subject matter for expressing your concept, and you need to utilize chiaroscuro and tenebrism in your artwork. You can use a color media that is highly recommended, but it can be any color media of your choice. These are some student interpretations of this project. This is a project that I normally do with advanced placement students, but I feel like it's going to be a really great way for you guys to express yourselves while we're doing remote learning. So I'm encouraging you guys to challenge yourselves with this assignment. So depending on what materials you have access to at home, you can utilize any color media of your choice. If you want to work digitally for this, that is acceptable as well. And you can choose whatever digital app you'd like to work from. I will be putting together a separate tutorial video on how to take your reference photograph, which you will be submitting by Wednesday of this week. If you have a scanner at home, you can utilize that to create images such as this. This is just another student interpretation. So you want to think about how you can utilize your technology to reinforce this feeling of being trapped, confined, or overly attached to our technology. Depending on what you create for your reference photograph, you can choose to depict it in the Dan Witz style, such as this, where you paint very realistically and try to capture that Renaissance style, or you can use more heightened, vibrant colors that reflect the different kind of digital glow effect of colors coming off of your screens. When we do create our reference photograph, it's going to be encouraged that you set up your device with your screen brightness all the way up and find a color that you can open up on that screen so it projects the color onto your face. You can also use an app like Prisma to alter your effects. So these are some more student examples so that way you can see the level of work that I'm expecting from this project. You are going to have 2 full weeks to do it. This image was put through the Prisma app first before he painted it, as was something like this. If you don't want to focus on portraiture, you can utilize hands in this project. This was done with pastels. This was done with colored pencil on black paper. This was acrylic paint on canvas paper. This was colored pencil on black paper as well. And you can be as inventive as you'd like with your color. This was pastel on black paper, colored pencil on black paper. This was colored pencil on black paper as well. This was colored pencil. And this was chalk pastel. As you think about which materials you might want to use for this, consider some of these important tips when you are starting to implement your materials. If you're working with acrylic, colored pencil, watercolor, chalk pastel, try to think back to what we have already learned about these materials and use that to your advantage while you're working. If you have questions about techniques, you can always text me or email me for tips. Now this is something I want to share with you that I found from artists who are studio artists working from home. So what they rely on to help manage their studio time, these are some important tips, and maybe you can implement them while you've been working virtually, and this really can apply to any coursework. First, focus on top priority. Get that one huge overwhelming thing done first. Eliminate what's unimportant. If it's not helping you, is it really worth your time right now? Be proactive. Plan weekly goals and write a daily to-do list and get the big picture. Think about what you're doing with the end in mind. Train yourself to work a little bit each day and enjoy the process. Slow down and focus. Don't take on too much work at once. If you do, you spread yourself too thin, and then you won't do your task as well as you could have. Quality really matters. Try not to be lazy. I know it's really hard when you're home 24/7. Try to balance work, rest, and exercise into your day. Yes, move around. Cut off or cut down on social media, busy work, and time wasters. Obviously, TV, escape activities, the stuff you do to avoid the stuff you should be tackling, have a tendency to take over when you're working remotely. But it's really important to try to set yourself up with a normal schedule. Depending on what you have designated as your workspace, when you're completely done working, then leave it organized, set up, ready for the next day, and physically remove yourself or try to remove yourself from that space that you have been working in. So that way your brain can kind of register that, hey, this is where I work versus this is where I eat versus this is where I sleep. I know that that can't always be the case for everyone depending on our situation at home. But whatever you can do to try to change your perspective on things will really help you get through this time period.